Hey guys, here's Darshan Senthil, and this is actually gonna be my second calculation test. I felt that I had some time, so I might as well just do as many videos as I can. And this problem is very similar to the previous one. It's also another 4-move checkmate, and it's the same principles as well. So you're gonna have to think a little bit. It's not like your usual checkmate problem. You're gonna have to think, calculate a little bit, and it's still a pretty straightforward solution though once you can work it out and get it. So just like last time, I would not recommend you put it on a board and solve it. I would recommend you just try to solve it in your head, and as always I will narrate to you the variations. If you can't solve it, just let it be. I'll narrate the variations to you once so you can try to at least picture it on the board before I actually move the pieces and go into a little bit of analysis as to why they would play that, what move. So without further ado, let's get started. So pause the video right now if you would, and just try to find this checkmate in 4. It's white to play, and just try to find that checkmate in 4. Okay, so there are actually two kinds of finishes to this. Now I'm just going to narrate to you the first variation. The first 3 moves of both variations are the same. It's just the final move that will differ ever so slightly. So here we go. Variation 1 goes as follows: Rook d3, Queen a7 check, Bishop d4, Queen d7, Bishop g7 check, Queen into g7, Rook h3 checkmate. That's the first variation. Now the second variation starts from Bishop g7 check, King takes g7, Rook into d7 check, and it's white's win there, and I'll show you why in a minute. Okay, so now let's just look at this on the board. So the first move in both variations, let's just consider although white is a queen down, black is still kind of stuck here on this last file here. If you notice, his king cannot escape either way. So what white would ideally love to do is to sort of form a side rank checkmate in this case over here by getting on this line. Unfortunately, he cannot go to the h4 square because his pawn on g5 is guarding it. So he's just gonna simply bring his rook down to d3 in order to aim for that h3 square right there. So in response to this, black plays Queen a7 check, because even if he were to move his queen to any other square, this would actually, let's just say for example, if he were to move his queen to like f7, notice that this would still be checkmate, because the bishop here on c3 would guard this g7 square. And also moving pawns would be pretty futile, because eventually he could just bring his bishop around. Moving pawns would be futile because then this bishop would still get the queen there, so that's another big thing to look out for. So black's best move in this situation is Queen a7 check, because this not only gets his king out of that particular problem, it also keeps his queen safe. So now again, white simply is going to respond with bishop to d4, and this is also a very good move because notice that it does not allow black to check white's king anymore, because it guards the a1 square, and it also maintains this attack on the g7 square here. So the mate threat over here is still on, and at the same time white's attacking black's queen. So we're starting to see a lot of things happen with this move, bishop to d4. Now black again is going to go for the best move here. Black still could escape with just by bringing his king to h7, but then he would lose his queen here. So his best move is actually going to be queen to d7. Now this not only pulls his queen out of attack, and also guards the h3 square at the same time. So this is theoretically black's best move over here. Now here white plays a very daring move, which is bishop to g7 check. Now this sort of brings a check over here and this discovered attack on the queen. So this is something that is very key over here. And so black from here has two options. He can either capture with his king or with his queen. If you were to capture with his king, let's just go over that first, then rook takes queen check would not be checkmate per se. He could still move over here, but from here it's pretty much white's win, because he's got a doubled pawn here which is eventually going to fall to white's rook. And then if white can just keep play properly from here, it should be an easy win for him, and black would eventually lose. Now the other variation would be queen takes g7, and if you notice here, the only thing this is just almost exactly the same position as the starting position, except the bishop's obviously gone, and now you can just simply move your rook here, and that's checkmate already. Notice that he's stuck on the sideline, he really cannot move anywhere, and yep, that's checkmate over right there. So in this problem, it's important to know that there are several different variations here for what black can do. It's not a forced checkmate, but you have to also think in terms of material. So this is one particular problem where the answer is not always a forced one, so you should consider the various other factors like material loss, etc. These tend to be slightly more difficult because you have to take more factors into account and really calculate different things. So there's no forced way, because even the forced variation is not always the one that gives you checkmate here. There's no real forced variation here. So yep, and that brings this second calculation test to an end, and I hope you found it interesting and helpful, and yep, thanks for watching.